In this video, we're going to look at pips. Let's take a closer look at what we're going to cover. What is a pip? We'll look at standard price quotes, non-yen and yen pair quotes. We will look at cents, pence, and others. Let's move on. So what is a pip? The word pip is an acronym. It stands for percentage in point. The standard price quotes, that is currency pairs that do not include the Japanese yen, these pairs have 4 or 5 decimal places. On the other hand, the yen price quotes, these are currency pairs that do include the Japanese yen, these have 2 or 3 decimal places. The 4 or 5 decimal places for the standard price quotes and the 2 or 3 decimal places for the yen price quotes usually depends on the broker. Okay, let's take a closer look at standard price quotes and yen price quotes. Here's an example of a standard price quote, a non-yen 4 decimal places price quote. You can see the euro US dollar equals 1.2345. Next, we have another standard price quote. Again, it's non-yen, but this time it's 5 decimal places. So in this case, 1 euro will buy you 1.23456 US dollars. So in this case, there are 5 places after the decimal, and in the standard price quote at the top, there are only 4 places after the decimal. This, of course, depends on what type of broker you have, or the type of account that you hold with the broker. So when we look at a currency quote, like any of the ones above, what we see are cents, and this is after the decimal point. So we first see the cents, we then see a percentage of a cent, which is a pip, and we see 1/10 of a percent, and this is only in the case of the 5-digit broker. So if we look at the example of the euro US dollar, the cents would be the 2-3 after the decimal point. The percentage of a cent, the pip, would be the 45 after the decimal point, and the 1/10 of a percent will be the 6 after the decimal point. And that is if it is involved. In the case of the standard price quote with 4 decimal places, there is no 6. So there is no 1/10 of a percent. Let's take a look at an image. So here you can see the price that we just discussed in the previous slide. The 1, circled in red, that is the $1. Okay. Then to the right of that, you've got 23 cents that appears after the decimal point. This 23 is in cents. Next, you've got percent of a cent. So we've got 45 in the block, and that means the price here is 45% of a cent. On the extreme right-hand side, you can see the 6, and what that represents is 6/10 of a percent. So price is really broken down into its smallest denomination. We're familiar with $1.23, but in the currency market, it's broken down a lot further into percent of a cent and tenths of a cent. The 1 cent difference from 1.23 to 1.24 can be broken down into percent, and that's what the 45 is. It's almost 23.5 cents. Now, on the yen pairs, we have different price quotes. These include 2 or 3 decimal places. So let's take a look at the first example. Here you can see the yen price quote with 2 decimal places. The US dollar Japanese yen equals 82.75. Underneath that, we've got the yen price quote with 3 decimal places. Here we've got 82.754, the 4 being the 10th of a percent. So in the actual price of 82.754, 82 is the yen, 75 is the percentage of a yen, that is the actual pip, and the 4 is the 10th of a percent. Now, the reason that it is like this is because the yen cannot be broken down into smaller denominations. In some of the other currency pairs like the US dollar, the smallest denomination is not the dollar, it's the cents. You can break down a dollar into 100 cents. But with the yen, that is the smallest denomination. It cannot be broken down into cents. So with the yen pair price quotes, we have 2 or 3 decimal places, and the cents have been removed. You'll notice that 82 is the yen, 0.75 in this case is actually the percentage of a yen. And finally, if it is available on your account, you will have the 10th of a percent. So if you have a 3 decimal place account with your broker, you're going to see the 0.1%. Now, as we discussed earlier, the dollar has a smaller unit known as the cent. Now, not all currency pairs use cents. For the US dollar, the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, anything that has a dollar with it, the smaller unit is known as the cent. For the euro, the smaller unit is known as the euro cent. For the pound, the smaller unit is known as the pence. The franc, the smaller unit is known as the rappen. 100 rappens makes 1 franc. And as we have seen earlier, the yen has no smaller unit. 1 yen cannot be broken down into any smaller units like cents. So, because we use all these different currencies and not all of them have cents, the pip becomes the cent. The pip essentially is the 100 units that make up the point after the decimal. So essentially, we have these currencies broken down into smaller units known as percentage in point, or pips. So that's where pips come from. Thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.